some people may have noticed I haven't really been posting for a while. I've been on leave for a little bit, all for good reasons, but that'll be a video for another day. I'm not actually fully back yet, but I just wanted to address the very sad news about Pilgrim Harps, and sort of talk a little bit about the harp industry and the music industry as a whole and the arts and everything like that. This is sort of a bit out of the ordinary for what I usually post. I try to keep it just harps and all light, but I think it's quite concerning what's going on and the future of the industry as a whole, and where we're going to go. Haven't really thought too much about what I'm going to say, so this might ramble on quite a lot, and depending on how long it goes, you might have to pop over to YouTube to see my full, extra long rant. But yeah, let's see how it goes. So yeah, the first obviously point just on Pilgrim Harps, it's just really sad news. I was quite shocked when I saw it. I haven't been, like I say, haven't been at work for a little while, and I think it was knowledge that was a known, but because I haven't been in for some time, I hadn't heard it. So I was just quite surprised when I saw it, and I think it's just really kind of shows the state of the harp industry and the arts as a whole, in terms of how much of a struggle it really is for a lot of people. Luckily, we're in quite a good position where it's just the two of us. We don't have any employees. We're lucky enough to own our premises, so we don't have large overheads. Just being totally honest, work has been slower recently, and if you had employees and things like that, it would really be a struggle. And just trying to keep your head above water, it can always be difficult, when economic times are hard. And just to hear that it's got that bad for Pilgrim, that they've been forced to close, is just really sad news. And it's bad for the industry as a whole. Harpists in this country are lucky enough to have, well, up until recently, a lot of options, places to go, a lot of choice. As a lot of people will know, we've got a long history, basically going back from Erod, of harps, and obviously Irish and Welsh harps as well. So it's been really great over here. There's a lot of other countries where they have to fly people in, people like myself, to come and service, because they just don't have the facilities over there. They don't have people over there to be on call to do emergency servicing and jobs and things like that. So yeah, we have been really lucky here, and I think it's just going to be bad for the British harp industry as a whole that Pilgrim are shutting, let alone for the guys at Pilgrim. So obviously it's really bad for them, and hopefully they can all, they'll be moving on to better things, hopefully, but equally as good things. So yeah, just in itself, that's really just not good news for the harp industry, and kind of just shows how everything's sort of being centralized into the bigger corporations, and without naming the one company that now owns the other large company. And obviously they are able to produce things at scale and make harps at a cheaper cost, and basically outcompete other people, and they have the name. And I'm not saying that they make bad harps, but they make good harps for a lot of the time. But it's just everything that reduces the amount of competition, and obviously homegrown makers and things like that, is just bad news. So I think it just goes to show that we really need to try and support everywhere we can locally. And saying that, I know it's not easy for you guys, the harpists. Again, I think it just kind of shows the wider aspects of the sort of, to get unnecessarily deep, the society that we live in. It's just the arts are not valued the way that they should be, and it's really disappointing to see. It's the musicians and the artists and people like that bring, I hate saying things like this, but they bring joy to a lot of people, and it gives meaning to a lot of people, and people seek comfort and solace in these things a lot of time. And by losing funding for arts and projects and everything like that, it just reduces the people that can do it as a job. I think there's also this sort of misconception that people in the harp industry and harpists and therefore makers and things like that. Oh well, harps are expensive, so you must make loads of money. Well, the truth is, no. It's just like any other artist. People are struggling. It's not an easy industry to be in. A lot of people, they have to do a job as their main source of income, and they do the harp as something just because they love it, and yes, as a secondary source of income, which again sort of points to the wider issues that we have today in terms of people having to have multiple jobs. You can't just survive anymore, sort of thing. Everything's so expensive, and let's be honest, it's not easy to make ends meet these days. Like I say, we're in a very lucky position where we don't have massive overheads, so if times are a little bit tough, we can hopefully muscle through when things are a bit slower, and we can do things like work on our pedal harp, which will be sort of income for the future, but it's not paying the bills now, but hopefully we're in a position where we can get through these things. But a lot of people aren't, and it's not anyone's fault. It's successive governments' faults. Whatever side of the political spectrum you're on, it's a very easy thing for funds to be cut from those areas, because there's not a sort of easy direct link that people can show and put down in numbers what it leads to and what it doesn't lead to and things like that. So it's very easy for councils, counties, governments, anyone to cut that money, whether it's in England or abroad. We're seeing it, to be honest, all over the world at the moment, and I think it's bad news. It's very well to sort of say, oh well, this funding will come from somewhere, and people that do it, they do it because they love it and all that sort of stuff. But the fact is, it's got to be sustainable for a lot of people. Otherwise, you just can't do it. And yeah, harps are quite expensive, so getting into harps is not the cheapest thing to get into. So without funding and places in orchestras and jobs, and even just down to sort of the normal person having enough money to be able to pay for a harpist to come and do a wedding for them, let's not mess around. That's a lot of the source of income for a lot of harpists is weddings. And when people are struggling, they don't have the money to spend that on weddings and events, and have great harpists come and play for them to earn their bread and butter to be able to do stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of rambling around on the same points, but I think you get my point is that times are tough, and it would be very positive, I think, for the arts to have just a bit more recognition in terms of the role that they play in society and their monetary value, even though you can't put that on paper so easily as to what it provides. I think it's just sad, and hopefully this won't carry on forever, but it's been a trend that I've seen. I've been doing this for best part of 15 years now, and it's definitely something that I've seen year on year. You hear the comments from people, harpists, about how so and so's got cut and there's no more places in the orchestras for harps, and that you used to get even as much as you used to get your strings paid for and things like that when you're in a big orchestra. And now, of course, that sort of stuff doesn't happen anymore. Obviously the cost of strings and everything like that has gone up so much recently as well, that's another thing that you've got to compete with, is just these essentials that you've got to have, even to be able to play. So yeah, I mean, quite a roundabout rant, but I just think there's not really necessarily anything that we as individuals can specifically do about this. I suppose it's not that I'm politically inclined, but it's, I suppose, writing to politicians and doing campaigns and all of that sort of jazz, but I don't know how much difference that makes. I just wanted to have a little rant about things, basically, and hopefully we won't be going anywhere anytime soon, but we do have bills to pay and things like that, and yeah, basically I just wanted to have a little rant. I don't know the answer to any of these things that I've talked about. I just think that it's sad to see funding for the arts going down, and that's sort of typified by Pilgrim having to go out of business just because there's less money for people to be able to afford harps, which again goes to the wider economy. But yeah, that's my little rant for today, and hopefully I'll be back with my much more positive news as to why I've been away soon. So yeah, have a good day, guys, and yeah, I'll speak to you soon.